Welcome to Miniatures Rundown. I'm Kevin, and today we're talking 11th. So, as anyone in the Games Workshop miniature space probably knows already, Armageddon's on the way, or maybe even already to you. And inside of it is everything that you need to play. One of those things being the core rulebook. Now, one of the big differences between the rulebooks that we've seen come in the starter, quote unquote, launch/starter sets in the past and what we are getting now is typically in the past, we've gotten a big, fat, thick tome that was full of lore and also contained the rules that you need to play the game. In Armageddon, they've kind of changed things up a little bit, where we've just kind of gotten that small companion rule book that we often saw come with some of the starter sets that came later after the launch box was on store shelves. And then only in the Armageddon box do we have the Operation Imperator book, which is all of the fluff and everything that you would normally see at the front end of those large tomes that we are so familiar with from previous editions. So what does that mean? It's really nice to have a small rule book to carry around and you're not carrying this big honking tome around with you while you're trying to play your games, because you don't really need the fluff with you when you're trying to play. The rulebook itself is really nice. It doesn't try and reinvent the wheel when it comes to Games Workshop rulebooks. It introduces all of the mechanics of the rulebook first, and all the ways you play the game as far as moving, attacking, and everything else. And then it goes into the phases of the game and breaks them down into how you apply those rules throughout the course of the battle. The thing that is, and this is really a Spartan rulebook in the sense that it doesn't contain any information that has to do with building an army, playing a battle, as far as how to set up a battle, set up the battlefield. It talks briefly about terrain, the types of terrain that you encounter on the battlefield, but it doesn't tell you how to set up that terrain. It doesn't tell you any of that stuff. It is very strictly a book of mechanics about how your models work. So in that sense, it's pretty Spartan, and I think it's actually a bit more useful for that because there's not a lot of superfluous information in there that you don't need on a regular game-to-game basis. That being said, just like any Games Workshop rulebook, at some point in the future, it's probably going to be out of date. That's just games being games in the modern day. The printed rulebook at some point is going to have revisions and FAQs and errata applied to it that are going to make the text in the book a lot less relevant. We've come to kind of expect that. And while unfortunate, at least the rules are also available free online, and it is literally the exact same book, just in a PDF format. The thing that is missing, though, of course, is how to set up a battlefield, how to play the game. So where are those rules? The rules for all of that for army construction are really contained in the app itself. The Games Workshop app has been updated. It has been made quite a bit more robust, including a game tracker. If you play in tournaments, it links directly to BCP. We will see how well that actually works. I have some skepticism about that. But regardless, it's cool that they're implementing that. And it also has all your rules references and even allows you to link to your opponent so you can see your opponent's rules too, which I think is really cool. This is a really big game. There's a lot of rules. There's a lot going on. And it's nice to be able to look at what your opponent is bringing to the table as well, without them needing to basically pass a competency quiz at the start of the game about what all their stuff does. As far as how to set up a battle, how to play a battle, those are all included in the chapter approved deck. There's a small little tiny rule book in the chapter approved deck that tells you how to set up a battlefield. It doesn't actually include the official terrain layouts. Those are actually in the Games Workshop Warhammer 40,000 app itself. And I know that's I'm saying all of this, and it's come to a realization to me too, that it sounds like everything is spread out and kind of hard to find. When you get into it and you get into the trenches and you actually start playing, you'll find that it's not the case. You're going to find that most of the stuff that you need is in your phone, and that's what the information you're largely going to need to play the game. There is very little, like the rulebook is nice for reference and for just kind of refreshing and reading. I prefer to read off of paper than I do off of a device. That's just me personally. Some people prefer e-reader or whatever. But all in all, the rulebook that comes with Armageddon is pretty nice. I like it. Small and compact. I don't have to carry this large tome with me everywhere I go. But however, I'm really interested to see what you think about it. If you like this content and want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe and check out our Patreon. Every dollar helps bring this content to you and helps us do even more cool stuff in the future. Thanks and happy gaming.